Now into the second half of 2024, and the way the business works in this racing sport, most of the deals for next year are already known. So here's a brief silly season update. And keep in mind, you're not going to hear blockbuster deals here because most of the top 450 riders work on 2 or even 3-year contracts, and we're in between those years now. For example, 2022 saw a lot of movement. Eli Tomac going from Kawasaki to Yamaha, Jason Anderson going from Husqvarna to Kawasaki, Malcolm Stewart going from Yamaha to Husqvarna, and then 2024 we saw Chase Sexton move from Honda to KTM, and Cooper Webb move from KTM to Yamaha. There won't be any really big deals like that for 2025 because most riders are in multi-year contracts. 2026 will probably be when you see more movement. Probably the biggest 450 news is fairly well known. Monster Energy Kawasaki has signed Jorge Prado to race for them in the United States full-time in 2025. Prado had long since been a KTM development rider and more recently racing under the different wing of that company for GasGas, and a very successful stint, of course, in MXGP and MX2, but he'll be full-time in the US on Kawasaki, taking the spot of the now retired Adam Cianciarulo. Anderson will enter the second year of his second 2-year contract with Kawasaki. He'll be back on green next year as well. Because again, most of these 450 riders are on multi-year deals. One of the few that wasn't was Aaron Plessinger, but he already signed a 1-year extension with Red Bull KTM, so he will be back for 2025. Chase Sexton's deal was 24 and 25, so he will be back. And Cooper Webb's deal with Yamaha was for 2024 and 2025. However, there's a little bit of intrigue over the Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing camp, and that's because Eli Tomac hasn't been signing multi-year deals because no one's sure, maybe even Eli himself, how much more he wants to race. But after racing a bit in 2024, it appears that Eli definitely does want to come back and race in 2025. So he and Yamaha do have to hammer out a new deal. We've heard rumors, they've been talking for months. Nothing has been made official yet. We've heard a deal is coming soon. Could be announced by the time you watch this video. Expect Eli Tomac to be back at Yamaha in 2025. But again, that's not locked in yet. And that also leads us to the third 450 rider over there, Justin Cooper. Now, for a while, Cooper was actually linked to the second Rockstar Energy Husqvarna 450 deal, taking the place of Christian Craig. But that's not going to happen at Husqvarna, for reasons we'll explain in a moment. It's pretty possible, though, that Cooper will just return to Yamaha. He has some performance bonuses that lead to an automatic renew if he wants to take it with Yamaha, and those targets appear to be in sight if he has a solid end to the 2024 season. So signs right now point to just seeing Tomac, Cooper, and Webb all back as 3 450 riders for Yamaha. So why would Justin Cooper no longer have an opportunity to go to the much-rumored 450 Rockstar Husqvarna deal that he was linked to earlier in the year? Well, this was actually first reported by our Steve Mathos on May the 24th. It appears the parent company of KTM, Husqvarna, and GasGas is in consolidation mode, looking to save budget and use their resources more efficiently. Look for a lot more consolidation between Husqvarna and GasGas in the future. There are 5 riders between those two brands in the US under contract going into 2025, and they will all be back. That's Ryder DeFrancesco and Justin Barcia for GasGas, RJ Hampshire, Malcolm Stewart, Casey Cochran for Rockstar Husqvarna. But that's it. Any rider who has an expiring deal, those riders aren't coming back, and no additional riders are going to be signed for either brand. So Christian Craig's 450 deal is up. They're not going to add a second 450 guy to take his place with Husqvarna. Not sure what the future will be for young but now injured Spanish rider Guillem Ferez. And Pierce Brown is the second 250 rider for GasGas. He's already signed with Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing for next year. But there's one other interesting piece to this, trying to further integrate the GasGas and Husqvarna outfits. Where does this leave Troy Lee Designs, which has been operating the GasGas team since it started? We hear there could be some conflicts and sponsors and things like that behind the scenes, and TLD could end up being out of the program altogether, and GasGas would just become an in-house factory team like KTM and Husqvarna already are. So when you see DeFrancesco and Barcia on the track next year, it might look similar or surprisingly different from what you see with them on the track right now. For example, Troy Lee Designs is a gear brand, so that's the gear that they wear. Will that still be the case? And what about a lot of the other team sponsors that were truly deals put together by Troy Lee with his relationships as well? Will those sponsors stay? Will they go? Watch that space. We mentioned that Pierce Brown is going from GasGas to Yamaha. That team is always aggressive. Monster Energy, Yamaha, Star Racing, already announcing that they're going racing right now with Max Ansty. They're not waiting until 2025. He will make his debut this weekend at Southwick, and the reason for that is Ansty was still set for a sizable payday. The Firepower Honda team that he was racing for also competes, maybe primarily we should say, in the Australian Supercross Championship and the FIM WSX Series. And Ansty's had great success in both of those championships, was probably looking at some potential championship bonuses. So Star Racing is racing and paying him now to try to make up for the income he's going to probably lose if he doesn't win those titles, which he won't because he's no longer racing in those series. Firepower Honda has already announced that Carson Mumford will be racing for the team. We'll see if they add anyone else and what the future is there. Other news? Well, maybe the hottest part of the silly season is what about the new brands coming in? For starters, Beta and Colt Nichols announced today that they have parted ways. Mathis is reporting that Nichols will be signing with and racing for the Twisted Tea Suzuki team soon, probably at the Millville round or Pro Motocross in a couple of weeks. Speaking of that, we've not heard anything official on where Ken Roczen will race in 2025. His deal is up, but certainly it's been a happy marriage with that Suzuki team the last 2 years. Now back to Nichols and Beta. Beta did have success with Benny Bloss, who was a 2-year deal in Supercross, but it didn't work out as well for Nichols. But what about Ducati? Everybody wants to know about Ducati. They're probably not racing until 2026, but they have said they want to partner. What race team will it be with? Will it be someone we're familiar with within this sport? Will it be someone from out of the space? That's going to be interesting, but again, we won't know until probably a year from now how that's all going to work. Then there's Triumph, which has been pretty successful in their debut year in motocross and supercross. Will they expand? We believe their plans to race a 450 next year, which they originally announced might be pushed back. Let's see how that affects things for who they sign and what riders are coming. That's probably the most exciting part of the sport right now, these new brands coming in and how things are going to shape up for them. There are some pieces of the 250 silly season yet to be put together. Maybe most intriguing is over at Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. Levi Kitchen has a multi-year deal. They've already announced that Seth Hammaker and Cameron McAdoo are back, and we've heard that Garrett Marchbanks will be returning to the team. 100th win for the Pro Circuit team. Will they find a place for Masterpole and or Voland in the future? We'll have to see. As mentioned, though, most of the riders you're seeing on the track that we haven't mentioned in this video already have existing deals going into 2025. But if anything crazy happens, watch this space.